Today, we are diving right into something that terrifies me almost as much as a render failing 10 hours in. Animation. That's right, I, someone who swore to only make cute little things in Blender, am embarking on a journey to make epic, awe-inspiring animations. To make sure I understand everything properly, I'm going to be learning animation in 3 different ways. The first one is manually creating a skeleton in inverse kinematics on my own. The second one is going to be using an add-on that comes with Blender called Rigify. And the third way is going to be a paid add-on called AutoRig Pro. Now to start, I need to model a character that is worthy of all of this effort and work to animate her. This is the reference image that I want to work off of, and I thought making something that actually looks like a doll with joints would be easier to see what's going on and see what is being animated and what isn't. This was an easy and simple design for me, aimed at making a clean base for my animations. I made sure all of her limbs were separate objects so that we could really see what was going on while I animated. Then it was already time to start loading her up with a skeleton. Today we are going to learn how to animate using bones and doing it manually. Okay, I'm kind of scared of losing everything that I've done, so I'm going to save a copy of this file. I think that is very smart to do. So we're meant to go to edit mode and add a bone and position it. I literally have never seen this in my life. I'm terrified. Moving that up. Subdivide this twice, and that is our spine. Okay, we're gonna be extruding this one to the top of the neck. I know they say that if you've completed a basic science class, you should be able to create a skeleton, but my mind just could not picture where the bones were supposed to go in the body. My only advice as someone who just went through this is to not only use YouTube tutorials because they aren't always the most clear or concise. I personally used a lot of tutorials from Skillshare. Speaking of, thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Whenever I want to learn a new skill like 3D animation, it's made so much easier by the classes and the learning paths on Skillshare. If you don't already know, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with classes led by industry experts in illustration, art, design, freelance, film, and so much more. Skillshare can help you with your career, new hobbies, passions, new skills. You may have heard me talk about how I've learned 3D in a little over 6 months, and one of the first tutorials I used was Blender for Beginners, making your first 3D scene. They've played a huge role in helping me learn, so it's something that I legitimately recommend. Some of you in my comments like to remind me that AI will be replacing me soon, and Skillshare has some really exciting new classes, such as AI and innovation. They already have classes on all our favorite stuff too: 3D animation, lighting, materials. The first 500 people to use the link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Initially, it costs you nothing, so no one can say that they can't afford to learn 3D because there's a bunch of classes at your disposal right now. So I thought weight painting, or indicating the parts of the character that can be influenced by the skeleton, was gonna be one of the easiest parts of the video for me, but it was actually really hard. I don't know if you can see those little spikes coming out of the bottom of the arm. I have been trying for an hour, I think, but you know what? I'm not gonna give up. Sometimes you just need to call for help.
Can I phone a friend?
Hit up that 3D Discord from some random tutorial you followed months ago. Shout out to Mitchell Wynn on YouTube for helping me figure out a new way to weight paint when you're working with limbs as individual objects. I guess if you delete unnecessary vertex groups and then use a gradient paint to paint the limb, it goes a lot faster. It's actually working now, so if I move everything, then it moves perfectly. I can move the hand. It looks kind of funny, but I can do it. If I wanted to move the entire leg, that is easy to do. Then it was time to do the part of the animation where you help the limbs move in tandem and not move separately like they're allergic to each other. Inverse kinematics. It's beautiful outside. I feel like I should be touching grass, but instead I'm here animating. That part went surprisingly smoothly and I was pretty happy about it. But little did I know the hardest part was going to be getting any natural movement out of my character once it was time to actually animate. The animation was laughable. No, literally, like my mom laughed at me when I showed it to her. I tried adding some arbitrary little environment pieces to motivate myself to keep going and actually create a real animation. More on that later when I show the final result. Next up was Rigify. It's been like a week since I tried to manually learn how to animate. I think what's been stopping me is honestly just that I don't know what I'm doing, but I think this is a great learning opportunity. You're not gonna love the first painting you make, the first drawing, the first, muffins you bake, or whatever it is. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue as long as you're enjoying the process. Yeah, I was stressed. Rigify is an add-on that comes automatically with Blender. You can create a skeleton without having to place each of the bones individually. Add an armature, Rigify meta rigs, and add human, adjusting all the bones into the model that I made. I, of course, thought Rigify was going to be easier to learn and easier to use, but boy was I wrong. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all these extra bones. I'm just gonna delete them. Okay, all the bones fit into the body bag now. I don't know if I did this right, I can only guess. Okay, we're gonna generate the rig. I'm gonna start over. I think it might have worked. That doesn't look right. I'm gonna try again. Looks a little more promising. Parent it with automatic weights. Can't be that bad, right? After some poking around and trying to look for answers where they definitely weren't there, I decided it was time to go on Blender's official website and look at the Rigify documentation. Apparently there's a basic human meta rig that I did not see that does not have face and fingers. I'm gonna go ahead and redo this whole thing using the basic human. That looks much better. Parent, pose mode, let's go. It's working. Not well. I'm gonna retry with slight bends in the arms in the proper direction. Attempt number, I've lost count. Please. The arm is bending in the right direction now. I think we can deal with it from there. Now everything should work. Finally, I tried AutoRig Pro. It was at this point that I wanted to give up on life, but I did persevere. AutoRig Pro was probably the easiest and simplest to learn at this point after trying Rigify. All you had to do was set up little areas for the neck, the chin, the shoulders, the wrists, the spine root, and the ankles. From there, you just allow the add-on to do all the work with creating the skeleton and the IK rig. And before I knew it, I was done. Now don't expect much because I am new to this, but here's the final result. Learning something new can be messy, frustrating, and even downright confusing. But when you push through, you start to see progress. So here's the thing, animation is hard, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Whether it's animation or something else that you want to learn, your comfort zone is your enemy. Sure, I went through a lot of pain for this girl right here, but it was worth it. I think that pain plus resistance equals suffering. If you don't resist the pain, you might just learn how to animate. Okay, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye guys.